All right, NCAA women's tournament burning questions. We've got 4 of them. Brendan, number 1, let's start with Caitlin Clark, and let's also talk about Paige Bueckers. Would Paige versus Caitlin have been a bigger debate than we thought if they both came out this year? I'm going to answer this first and just say no, because I think Caitlin Clark doesn't have the injury history. She is also just transcendent as a star in an insane way. It's the Indiana Fever hyping up the fact that they're the number 1 pick, and obviously they can't say we're taking Caitlin Clark, but their GM in that video the other day looking like a grandma at a soccer game getting hyped up about number 1 is just some of the best shit I've ever seen. More of that. We need more normal human looking people in sports, and that felt awesome.
She just had to say number 1 because they don't want to use Caitlin's name or whatever.
Yeah, and just she
also,
looks like.
Why can't they? I don't really get. Is there a rule here that
they're
I'm
probably
missing, or is it just respect?
She
hasn't declared, right? So
yeah, no, she declared.
She hasn't. She said it, but you literally have to file. I don't know, but yeah. I'm actually going to need you, if there was a question in there, I'm going to need you to repeat it, because as soon as you started talking about Caitlin Clark, I happened to see in my Slack channel of my day job that the viewership came in for the game on Monday night, Chris, and it was the most watched women's college basketball game ever by wide margin. 12.3 million people watched this, which was more than any NBA Finals game last year outside of the deciding Game 5.
Yeah. There's a conversation.
We expected it to be huge, but holy shit.
She's a superstar. So the question is, would Paige versus Caitlin have been a bigger debate than we thought if they both came out for this year's draft? The answer is no, but I want to circle back to one of my best takes. I don't have a lot of good takes. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I think back what I said. And I'm like, was that great? The answer's often no. I like being wrong is part of doing this job. But I had a take that we were going to be reminded that Paige Bueckers is also great and is a generational talent and all of that stuff. I think we've been reminded of that. So even if I don't think it would have been a debate, I do think if you had said this is now the clear-cut number 2 in this draft and she's going to go to the LA Sparks, had she declared, and then it becomes
she already was that though, right?
Yeah, but I just feel like in terms of how we're viewing her, how she has performed, the reputation, Gino getting involved and having the quotes of this is the best player in the country, supporting his player, all that stuff. The mystique around Caitlin and her personality, I think, coming through more than it did 2 months ago. I do think her star status has been raised in a way it wasn't at a month ago. Your Q rating, if that's still a phrase we can
let me
use.
ask you this. As far as your answer to the prompt here of if Paige had stayed in this year's draft rather than deciding to come back, would it have been more of a debate as the tournament went along, especially leading up to and after them playing each other, which is now what we have?
Oh.
Do you say that it wouldn't have been because of just the narrative around Caitlin, or because of what your personal view is about the two of them as talents? Because those are different, right? I think, and even you could say, okay, Indiana's closer to Iowa than LA. I mean, you could do all the nonsense, but Paige is from Minnesota, which is, not that different really. But what is it coming down to for you?
I think it's both. I think it's both that Caitlin is clearly just game breaking on every level. And game breaking in every capacity, and we've seen it for just a longer duration. So I just have that. And secondly, I do just think the cart, she had a massive lead that she was never going to be able to surrender. She started out as just an overwhelming.
Isn't that just because of injuries though?
But I think it's all. But
I don't. They played each other in 2021. Is I think right. Their freshman years, I think, is when they played each other. And we did not say that then. And then Paige just got hurt a bunch of times. She also went to the Final Four in between while Caitlin went home early. I'll just come out and say what I think I'm obviously leading toward. I think Paige is going to be a better player in the WNBA than Caitlin Clark is.
Okay, can we do this as a quote graphic? Can we do that?
Yeah, that's this. See, I think that's why I kind of wanted you to clarify. I think that you're a little bit, Kool-Aid prisoner of the moment here. I don't think that my take is as hot as you're making it sound. I think it would have been a much more legit debate, and I think that there is something about the aura of Caitlin, the revolutionary aspects of what she's doing at the college level in the women's game that we've never seen, the breaking of the scoring record, the fact that her teammates are not as good helps kind of build up the holy shit of it all. But that doesn't mean that when we get to the draft and you're a GM whose job is on the line and they're both going to be great. Your job's not on the line, but you want to nail the pick and you want to build your team and you want to scout and evaluate them as talents. I think it's much closer than you're giving it credit for.
No, I want to clarify. I think it's like closer than I'm probably giving it credit for. I just also think we're at a point with this where I just think there was never a way this was changing at a certain point. And I don't want to say that in as a way to like dismiss Paige as her as like a superstar and what she's capable of and all of that, because like she was the bigger prospect coming into college. It wasn't close of like who was the bigger deal at that point. It has just shifted for a variety of reasons. I also just think the revolutionary aspects of the way Caitlin plays is just kind of hard to look away from. I just do. Like I think that is whereas Paige, I think, is going to do things differently in her own way. I think we have seen molds of what she is to some degree. I don't think we have ever seen anything like Caitlin Clark, where I think she can like restructure the way the game is played to a certain degree, and that is just really enticing to me if I'm building a team from day one. If you're saying I get that, and she can absolutely just rip a defense apart and rip the way we think of how guards play in the W apart, and Paige's can do that in her own way, but it's like less scaled up and less drastic, I'm probably just going to skew more towards the drastic part of it. To be clear, you get either one of these players, and I think like you could put other, like Cameron Brink, I'd be thrilled to get as well, not maybe to the same degree, but like you're very happy. And whoever gets like if there's a tank for the next year's WNBA draft to get Paige, I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, like that makes sense to me.
So that's the question, right? Maybe a good way to cap, because it's all just sports bar nonsense debating. It doesn't really matter. If they were to both have been in this draft and they went 1-2, they probably both would have been candidates to be all-stars and everything, and Paige will get there. We'll have another year to see what she can do at UConn. Although I do have a little bit of a what happens if they actually were to pull this off? Does she still go back? I don't know. But because there's nothing, she could just say, "Oh, actually, I changed my mind." Like, she just kind of said it in the media. It's not real yet. Well, she
didn't even say it in the media. Really, it was like at senior day. It was like she just kind of like made a proclamation.
So let's say that she does go back. Let's say Caitlin also went back, and Paige got a fully healthy season with the Huskies, and Azzi Fudd and some of their other Aubrey Griffin and their other heralded prospects are healthy, and they're just, maybe they're undefeated for all we know. And Caitlin stays and has another amazing season, very similar to what she did this year. What would you say then? Would there have been any chance for Paige to get there, given another season of working toward it, or do you just think it's so insurmountable? Because I don't know, I just have a hard time finding a hole in Paige's game, and like I guess a comp would be right. Like Luka went third over Trey. Does that feel similar?
I think it's just a little different.
Trae Young was the 5th overall pick after taking the whole fucking country by storm in college basketball. Right?
No, okay, yeah, no, I misheard, kind of understood what you're saying for a second because my brain's goop right now. No,
Trae went after Luka, even though Trae had a season that just we all thought he was the future of everything.
Yeah, I just think anyone who actually looked at Trae Young didn't actually think that because he's small and Like there's some differences there between, there's a little. There's
I didn't sell you. It's fine. I don't have to sell you, but I think Paige will be, when it is all said and done, as we watch their careers, at least an equal to Caitlin in terms of winning, in terms of production, and everything else. Maybe production is unfair, right? Maybe we'll never see somebody. I mean, Caitlin just scored 32 points per game. Paige is at 22. Maybe that never equalizes, but I think in terms of impact and winning and just greatness, however we kind of qualify that and know it when we see it, I think it'll be pretty damn close when it's all said and done. But the more pressing question, Chris, is who wins this weekend? First thoughts.
I'm going Iowa. I'm just riding the vibes. I mean, Do I feel good about the only thing I feel confident about is that South Carolina is like probably winning their game. I just also need to point out I googled 2025 WNBA mock draft real quick. The mock I looked at, which is like maybe the only one on the internet right now, has Anissa Morrow going number 1 over Paige Bueckers. That's Paige Bueckers like just like health provided is going number 1.
Paige just has to be more specific, and I will say I'll just pick UConn. What do we want to bet here?
The first 2 Modelos next time we see each other in person.
Okay.
Well, we're assigning West, just to be clear. We're assigning West NC State because he's not here. And then when they get eliminated and like let's say South Carolina wins, West by default has to buy us the Modelos because he picked NC State.
Okay. Perfect. So he's watching. Where is he today? Heat Sixers.
Heat Knicks.
And, Heat Knicks. So he'll find out afterward. Yeah. I think I'll just say as far as this game goes, Aaliyah Edwards has been playing her absolute ass off, and I think she is very likely to be the 3rd best player in this game by a pretty wide margin, and that will matter a lot from just the standpoint of winning on Friday. But as far as Paige goes, to be more specific rather than just kind of arguing, I think Paige's feel in the half court, her 3-level scoring ability, I would say her footwork, her fluidity as an athlete, those things are all better. I think she's a significantly more cerebral and just overall impactful defender. I think she's committed herself to that end of the floor a lot more. I mean, she's smaller. There's no real physical reason she should be better. It's just, she just does it. She gets it done. She racks up forced turnovers like it's nothing. I mean, you look at the box score, it's like at least 2 each of blocks and steals throughout this entire tournament, it feels like. And she can also pull up from 3. She can also score. She can also pass in the open court. There's a lot of similarities to their game, but then Paige has another element beyond that. And yeah, Caitlin's range and her size is a little better, but
the defense, the Paige and might being the better defensive player is, I think, if you wanted to make that thing, it's like that's where I could see
Will.
Yeah, okay, Will. Like that's where it's like, are you just Kate? Is that like a problem for Caitlin where she like just isn't good enough? Like is less of a 2-way player, you know, and that gives Paige an advantage.
She'll have to figure it out, right? I mean, it's kind of like what we saw with Diana Taurasi and whatnot. There are Luka to keep using that comp. Like, well, I mean, a lot of great players suck on defense, but you got to at least kind of get the job done or end up on a team that can make up for it.
Steph's kind of the one that I think of. You know, I mean, it's all, which makes it interesting. It's like she's going to pair with Aaliyah Boston in Indiana. It's like if there's ever like a chance where you could take 5% of what she does and then she could put more effort on defense, maybe that results in something different that Iowa just can't offer.